People always have a hot take, and that's fine. You could argue my stance that House of the Dragon will be better than Game of Thrones is a hot take. I don't think that's a hot take at all though, because I think there's perfectly reasonable pieces of evidence that support that opinion. When it comes to critics of the yet released HBO series House of the Dragon, there seems to be three camps of people. Book fans who are frustrated with George R.R. Martin, Game of Thrones fans who aren't invested in the books but were let down tremendously by the Game of Thrones final seasons. And then there's just your run-of-the-mill contrarian, like the ones calling every new movie, show, book, and song woke, and of course those filling up YouTube comment sections everywhere with negativity. We run into this a lot with established franchises. It's like Star Wars. Nobody is as critical of Star Wars as Star Wars fans themselves. I believe that they are justified in their disappointment when they feel that the heart of the story has been tainted or tampered with. That's not entirely the case here, even though some argue that it is, especially those up in arms about the Black Valyrian subject, but I will be addressing that in my very last point, and I've got a bit to say about that group of critics. Now look, I'm not going to say that we should be happy that the books aren't finished, but the show is done well. What grievance is there with the show itself? Sure, George R.R. Martin is wasting time pursuing anything and everything but finishing Winds of Winter, but I don't quite understand why you as a fan would avoid a TV series that you otherwise would be ecstatic about. Is your taking a stand going to make George give up on Hollywood and go lock himself into his home? I doubt it, and if the show is of high quality, you're really depriving yourself of what enjoyment is available from the world of Westeros. You shouldn't feel obligated to George R.R. Martin, but keep in mind, the people running the show, especially Ryan Condal, are doing so because they are just as passionate about the world as you are, and I'm going to do my best to enjoy it and give them a chance. I recommend you do too. But hey, you could always just wait for the reviews and see. But if it is good, what benefit is there for you to not watch it? Now, some have shared the sentiment that Game of Thrones was so good but spiraled dramatically toward the end, with a rushed and unfulfilling conclusion. D&D are not back. They're not behind this. I think it's important to note that the way Game of Thrones ended was solely the creative decision of D&D. Numerous people involved have confirmed this much. Now, HBO is back, and they're throwing real money and support behind this project. They know what they're doing, and they are very much aware of the criticisms from Game of Thrones. You can't honestly believe that they're going to look at the reaction to the conclusion of their most successful TV series and make zero changes in their approach to protect themselves from House of the Dragon meeting that same fate. It's Hollywood, and anything and everything can happen. But this isn't some cash grab on a throwaway spin-off. This is a significant story that shaped the world that Game of Thrones fans came to know back in 2011 and is referenced throughout the story. Also, I've said this before and made a couple videos about this, but this source material is a little different, and it has a definitive conclusion. It's just for HBO, Ryan Condal, and Miguel Sapochnik to mold into compelling TV. Nothing indicates that they won't. Knowing George R.R. Martin handpicked D&D to bring Game of Thrones to life may make you question his judgment. But I think it's fair to say they did a great job adapting the source material while they had that material, and really struggled when they rushed to the end without the source material. Like D&D, George R.R. Martin handpicked Ryan Condal, but he's provided Ryan with finished source material and is leaving it up to him to create the nuance and details. The picture has an outline, it just needs colored in. That advantage over Game of Thrones is reason enough to have a little faith, I think at least. Now this last point is really a little irritating. It's one thing to be a skeptic, and it's okay to be initially skeptical about a casting choice, especially if that casting could make the source material impossible to adapt faithfully. But I don't believe that to be true here. For one, hair and eye color are often the most prominent features described as far as lineages are concerned, but secondly, the original text doesn't make it impossible to tell this story with black actors. If only you could imagine a whole group generously paid creative writers coming up with a creative reason for the characters to be black. I think there's a chance that this was done due to creating a more diverse cast of characters. However, I haven't read the script and I don't know for sure, but I imagine they're not going to allow a TV series priced just under $20 million per episode to have the entire soul of the story fractured just so they could have black actors. Yet that's what some believe. But some of these people are just over the top. They seemingly only learn just enough to attack something, paint it as part of a greater problem such as political correctness or woke, whatever. They show up in my comment sections often, but it's usually a dishonest debate. You can't be reasonable with them, they attack you, even if you're polite, they attack you, and it's exhausting one-note reciting of the easiest and laziest political commentary. Just to be clear, George R. R. Martin has been pretty open about his far-left ideological beliefs. Look it up, pay attention to his blog or whatever you gotta do to find out a little bit more about who he is politically. But this sentiment that House of the Dragon has gone woke, it's lazy. Because if this is woke, so isn't all of A Song of Ice and Fire and really any other George R. R. Martin books, because this is his story. Look, there's just enough negativity all the time everywhere, and I mean, it's okay to dislike something, and I have criticisms of D&D on this channel, but at least I have a finished product to look at in its entirety, so my assessment is at least coming from an honest place. House of the Dragon still is 2 months away. So I ask, can't we just give it a chance? Maybe not.